we shall make a start. Okay, so hello everybody, nice to meet you all. My name is Halil Tamgumus. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me as I go through the slides. I hope you can see them. If you can't see them, just give us a shout and I'll move over to the side. I'm going to be talking to you about diversity, about culture, and about why it's so important to teach children about different cultures, and also why it's so important for adults as well. I have a real passion for it. It's something that's really important to me, and you'll find out why it's so important as we go along. So let's make a start. So why all children and adults benefit from learning about other cultures. So who am I? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief introduction as to who I am to start with. So you've got an idea of who's talking to you, and it will build up a bit of a background to you or for you. Understand why my drive is there for diversity, for equity, and also for equality. Okay, so I'm Halil Tamgumus. I'm a Turkish Cypriot. So Cyprus was divided. It was split in 1974. I'm a little bit younger than that. I wasn't born. I know I've had a hard paper round. It was split in 1974, and you've got the north side, which is Turkish, and you've got the south side, which is Greek. So I am very distinctly Turkish Cypriot. I'm not Turkish. It's really important to me. Turkey is mainland Turkey. I'm a Turkish Cypriot. So, number one. Fact number two, I'm a head teacher. Okay, so this happened about a year and a half ago. So I'm relatively new as a head teacher, wet behind the ears, as it were. But it's happened, and I am one of the 3% of BAME head teachers in the country, which is shocking, absolutely shocking. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. And I'm going to talk to you about how teaching about culture and diversity and about equality and knowing what equity means is going to have a massive impact on this. And it's the right time. It's the right time for this to happen. Okay, so the next thing, I don't take myself too seriously. I don't know if you've probably noticed that already. Things go wrong, they go wrong. We have a laugh, we jump in, and I try to have fun. I try to show my children and my staff that it's okay to put yourself out there, and there is no fear. And this is really important. You can see the mic. I did a Gruffalo rap. That was something that I did not long ago, and it was to try and get children to read. And I want you to have that in your mind. Okay, so I put myself out there to get my children to read. We need to put ourselves out there in order for our children to put themselves out there. They need to feel safe to be able to be who they are. Okay, so I love food. I mean, seriously, I'm not a small person. I eat loads, and I purposefully picked a kebab, by the way. Yeah, that's not like just something I dreamed up. I lived above a kebab shop for many years as a child. We fit all the Turkish Cypriot stereotypes, So there I am, I'm living above a kebab shop. And this is part of my culture. This is part of me. And it's really important to me. And I care about others immensely, genuinely. It's all about care. I don't like trampling on other people. If I have it, I like to share it out. And it's all about making sure that we can give that leg up to the next group of people, the next generation, the next head teacher, whatever it might be. I want to support as much as I can. So that's a bit about me, okay? So we'll move into now why learning about other cultures is important. Why is it important to me? Why should it be important to all of us? So if we start off with the first thing here, it brings about open-mindedness and new perspectives which support tolerance. Never has there been a more telling time than now about tolerance, about the need to be able to understand other people, other backgrounds, understand their plight and their fight, because otherwise we're never going to make a difference. This is really important. Tolerance. You'll notice, by the way, I'll use symbols throughout my my slides. This is all linked to the theory of how we learn metacognition, so on and so forth. So the next bit, second part, we need to allow the students to feel unique, yet feel like they're part of a group. So one of the most difficult things is to grasp a child's uniqueness, yet at the same time as making them feel a part of something. Let's talk about this a second. Isn't this British values? This idea of British values of making sure we embrace our differences, but then we make sure that we're part of something bigger. Doesn't always work out like that, but we can make our schools like that. We can make our classrooms like that. We can make our staff rooms like that. And it's really, really telling when you walk into a place and people are uniform and the same as everybody else. Actually, we need to embrace difference. We have to embrace that, but make them feel like they're contributing to the whole thing. That's where this is. So, what is the world like without open-mindedness and tolerance? I don't have to tell you. You watch the news, no doubt. You've seen it. But come on. What more do you need to know? The tolerance and the lack of tolerance that is going on. And it's not just in America. We've got to be clear about this. This is the whole world over. It's race, it's culture, it's religion. I Googled today, and I'm just going to move you in just a little bit. Okay, so I Googled this today. I just typed in Google, I just typed in head teacher. That's all I typed, head teacher. And it's glaring, isn't it? It's glaring, if you can see it, that all of these people are white. And I checked all of these, they're white British. And it just starts to make me think a little bit. You know, as someone who is part of that 3%. 3%, I keep saying it, 3% head teachers in this country. We've got to break the cycle. We've got more and more children that are being excluded from schools. And those children are Gypsy Roman, they're Black African, they're Black Caribbean. We are talking about children who are different, who don't feel their culture and their background is taken seriously, taken into account. Talk about children from Pakistan, in Pakistani and Bangladeshi households. They're more likely to live in low-income households compared to their white British counterparts. The poverty levels are there to be seen. This isn't made up. These are facts. These facts are there. This was in 2018, by the way. I'm sure it's in. This is the last data that came out regarding it. 2.5 times more likely. And then you've got 36%, 33%, 30% of populations, so other mixed and Black populations, who live in a higher percentage of lower income houses. The poverty is real. The struggle is real. I'm not saying that we ignore it or we have ignored it, but what I'm saying is I think we need to highlight it and we need to do something about it. And I saw a tweet the other day where someone said we need to stop talking about it, stop talking about diversity, and we need to do something about it. And this is where that change comes. So personally, how have I been affected? Because you might say to yourself, right, you know, Halil, you're a head teacher, what you're moaning about? Yeah, you got there. Yeah, I'm here. But you know, I had to work really hard to get here. You know what? In some cases, I had to work doubly hard just to get my application through the door. I'll just give you an example. You look at me, I'm white. Non-threatening, it's nice and easy, okay? But when you see my name on an application form, and my application form goes into a school, Halil Tamgumus, straight away, people find it difficult. People find it difficult, number one, to pronounce. Therefore, I'm telling you, I'm not joking, they can't pronounce my name right. We find that difficult, maybe we'll look at the next ones. Let's look at some others. I know some people that that applied maybe once or twice and they managed to get their jobs. Me, to get headship, I had to apply to 4 different schools. 4 different schools. I applied to the same school 3 times. 3 times. But I know that there's a difficulty with my name. My culture. It's hard. I get it. But we need to break that cycle. So, we need to think about what our curriculum looks like. When I was a child, when I was growing up in Leicester, and I'm from Leicester, we're in lockdown, by the way, unbelievable, you know, 2nd lockdown. When I was growing up in Leicester in primary school, I remember feeling othered. I remember feeling different to everybody else. And I felt I wasn't seen. I felt like I couldn't be me. I felt like I couldn't share myself the way I wanted to share myself. And that was a shame. That was a shame because my peers could have learned something from me. My teachers could have learned something from me. They didn't. The curriculum didn't allow it. The curriculum wanted to teach me one size fits all, and it didn't want to give me anything more. The second thing, I had 2 identities. I had 2 identities, not like Superman, but I did have 2 identities. I had my home identity, where I was a Turkish Cypriot boy, and then I had my other identity at primary school and at secondary school, where I had to keep that Turkish Cypriotness away. And the moment I decided, that moment where I went, you know what, and it happened at secondary school, that moment where I went, you know what, I am Turkish Cypriot and I'm proud. The amount of racism that I endured was incredible. To the point, man, I'm saying it live and direct to all of you now, to the point that I failed my GCSEs. I'm a head teacher standing here before you and I failed all my GCSEs because I hated school. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be part of that system. That system didn't want me, so why should I give anything back to it? Now, that moment I had to go and stand and tell my dad that I failed my GCSEs was the saddest day of my life, the saddest day. And I just remember telling him, worried that he was going to be heartbroken. But I know now, looking back, that actually it's because I wasn't engaged. And it wasn't because I wasn't engaged because I'm not an intelligent person. I've got some level of intelligence. But I wasn't engaged because the education system, the curriculum, wasn't going to allow it. So I had to have 2 identities. How many children do you know in your class that may have 2 identities, that do not express themselves in a way that is free and open, where you can learn a little bit about them and their backgrounds? All it would have taken, I promise you, all it would have taken is for a teacher to say to me, what does this word mean in Turkish? Or what kind of food do you eat? Or what is it like when you go to Cyprus? Tell me something, tell me a place, anything at all. But there was nothing because the curriculum was teaching us one set thing, that monotonous one set thing. And you know, the cycle of acceptance, it's got to start somewhere. And education is the first place. It's the first part. We've got to have a strength to be able to educate the children and to feel that we're able to accept them. We've got to allow other cultures to feel valued. And we should be learning more about them. And when you think about it, it's split into 2 camps. You've got those that are other, and you've got those that are not. And when you start to learn about other cultures, when you start to learn about the cultures of the children in your class, when you start to learn about the cultures of the people in your city, in your county. Both is advantageous to both sets of groups of people. As a person of culture, as a person who is BAME, I feel empowered. I feel like I belong. And for those people that are not, they're learning so much more from us, something different, something more. And it's that level of tolerance that then comes from that open-mindedness, that tolerance that comes from understanding other cultures. And we know how important tolerance is right now, right? Tolerance is really important because without it, other people feel othered. They feel separate, segregated. This is about making them feel part. And there's that acceptance. And I don't just mean for the child, I mean in society. Imagine we teach acceptance and cultures and differences and we embrace. We then get people who feel like they belong, and we've got people who will accept those that are different. Then we have open-mindedness and tolerance, which is built into the system because it's come through all the learning that they've had. And then we've got this acceptance at the end, and then that feeds back into the education system. Open and tolerant. There is something to be said. There is something to be said about this. It's so important. Now, let me give you a little bit of background into my school. My school right now is in the center of a very white working class area. I am a Turkish Cypriot head teacher in this very working class white area. I'm not going to lie to you. I had members of the staff. I've had some people, my friends, family, telling me that I should not work here or I shouldn't have come here. But I had to break the system, the cycle, the reason why I'm here. I'm accepted now, but to start with, it was difficult. To start with, I was not listened to. This school is now my school. We've got 18 different languages in this school. We've got children here who feel like they belong. Our curriculum shows that. The staff are also reflective of that. And that's a really important thing. Making sure that we are a true representation of our school body, but also making sure that we expose these children to different cultures, to different backgrounds, to build up that tolerance, to build up that acceptance. Although this positive cycle can happen, the opposite can also occur. The negative can occur of that. If in education we continue to teach the same thing and we are scared, fearful of pushing our boundaries, fearful of asking the questions, fearful of having those debates, and we do not try to embrace what we've got in our schools, then those children are never going to feel valued. Open-mindedness and tolerance isn't going to happen. And it won't be open, it'll be closed. And that cycle will just continue. Education. Mirror. There are two parts. In practice, mirror the diversity of the children in your class. Does your classroom practice mirror the diversity of the children in your classroom? And the second thing, does your classroom practice reflect the diversity of the society they will grow up in? And again, it's that double-edged sword. It's that we've got to make sure that we make everybody feel valued, everybody. But at the same time, if you're working in a very, like me, in the first instance, white, working class area, then we can't just mirror what's in our classroom. If 95%, 99% of our classrooms are white British. It's about making sure that we expose children, expose them to different cultures, backgrounds, skin color, religions. Why? Because we want them to grow up in a society that is going to be rich and diverse and accepting and tolerant. So you need to be thinking about what your practice in school looks like. And it comes from two things. You've got to think about the wider curriculum and also think about what you do. Because you can, as a teacher, you can dip into those things. You can show these things, not tokenistic. No, not a week on a culture. No. What we do is we do something that is intertwined, because otherwise that tokenism becomes apathetic. It becomes pointless. It's done and it's left and it's shelved and you don't see it again. No, we want to make sure that we keep that intertwined with our curriculum, with your planning, with what you do. So, how can you make a difference every day? Not just a token gesture. So you've got to counter stereotypical examples in your lessons in order to challenge group-based stereotypes. So for example, when you're looking at poetry by Shakespeare, why not share poetry by Rumi? We've got to start thinking more than what we think the curriculum is telling us to do. The curriculum suggests, it's guidance. You are in control of what you're going to teach. You are in control of your curriculum. There's nothing to stop you. And I think this is something that we're doing. We counter our stereotypical examples with something that will show you the diversity, not just of our cultures and our backgrounds in our school, but the culture and background in our society that we want these children to grow up in. So we've got science. Science is one of the major ones for me, genuinely. So, Sir Alexander Fleming. We've got Isaac Newton. We've got Alexander Graham Bell. Feel seen. I don't see colour is not a term that you should be using. It is a dangerous rhetoric. They need to be seen. It doesn't matter their colour, their background, their culture, their religion. It doesn't matter. We need to see them. Because if we don't see them as who they are, how are they ever going to feel part of the whole? You must see the colour. You must see the culture. And you must see the child. Okay, so that's kind of me done, I think. I think I've gone on loads, I've chatted loads. I hope it was helpful and useful. Emma, I don't know if you're still there, if you're still in the background. How does this work now, Zine?
Yeah.
How does it work? Oh, yeah, Emma.
I'm still here. I had to nip off, so we've got a few minutes that weren't recorded, but it's fine. We've recorded most of it. We've got about 4 minutes for questions.
If anyone's got any questions, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you can type them, or you can actually just talk.
Do you want just the chat? Do you want just the chat? I don't mind chat. I don't know if anyone's got any questions. You know, it's been a real journey to get to this point and to feel brave enough. I mean, I'm 41 now, so I think I must have been about 38 where I actually started to feel that I could talk about my culture, that I could actually speak openly about who I am, outwardly. You know, it was, again, on Twitter only a few weeks back, Amjad Ali put a tweet out and just said, oh, can you put something about your music, you know, what music from your area, from where you're from? First time I've ever shared with anybody outside of my family circle the kind of music we listen to in Cyprus. It's just, I honestly, I stand here almost like, I feel a bit of shame in that, because I've hidden my culture away from other people. But it's because I feel like something would would come back at me for that. I'd feel almost like a negative response to that. So your first reaction is to protect yourself. So yeah, I don't want that to be for our children at all. Oh, Zena, you got a question? Sorry.
Can I just say, because obviously I'm Greek Cypriot, so I'm from the other side of, I'm your neighbour. So I totally resonated with so much of what you said. And my husband's English, and I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I think I recently went to the diverse ed conversations a few weeks back, and suddenly realised that actually I haven't given my kids the chance to learn the Greek language. I speak it, I read it, I write it, I sing it, I dance it, but my children didn't know that, and I questioned why I didn't do that for them. So recently, in the last few weeks since diverse ed, I have been, and they've gained so much from it. But that embarrassment of your own culture, I totally understand what you mean.
So Zena, I mean, to a certain extent, and I feel that, imagine if the school that they attend gave them, or I don't know if they do, I'm assuming, but it didn't happen for my kids, but that opportunity to be able to share who they are and what they do, and you know, how they live at home and how different it is. You know, there are so many people that go to Turkey, for example, and to Greece and to Cyprus, and they say how lovely the people are and how embracing and warm they are. And, you know, we've got that here as well. You know, we can share that, and the things that we've got, it would make a massive difference, I think. And that's why it's so important here. You know, I learned, I'll tell you this, every time I have a new child from somewhere else, from a different country, I go out of my way to learn a few words so that I can converse with them, so I can get into their psyche, and then they're part of me, and then I'm part of them, and we can chat, and I've got a way in, and they feel like they belong here. You know, it's small wins.
You need to remind me to teach you. You need to remind me to teach you a Romany gypsy song that I learnt from my previous school.
Oh,
but that's for another time. I'm not singing it now.
I was going to say, go for it.
Just really quickly, someone has done Claire Lotriet has done a presentation. No, not Claire, sorry. Sarah Laws has done a presentation on traveller children, which is in the pre-recorded section. So that will be interesting to a lot of people. Okay.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Emma.
Our time now. Oh, hang on.
Okay.
Someone was asking how long it took you to get to headship from Mary.
Oh, that's a really good question. Oh man. Okay, so I was in. It didn't take me that long, really. Granted, but I was an assistant head for something like nearly 8 years. So I got into assistant headship relatively quickly, but I was stuck in an assistant headship for quite a long time, and it was really difficult to get out of, because I was having to, you know, it was a different struggle for me. You know, I had my peers were moving really quickly through it. So assistant head, and then 2-3 years going on to deputy and headship. I was struggling to get onto that conveyor belt of deputy and then headship. But then, you know, I've had to persevere. That's one of our words. I've had to persevere to get to where I am. So it didn't take very long, but it was for a moment, it was very dark at one point, because I thought I'd never make it. But yeah.
You're here. Thanks, Halil. You're
That's all right. That's my pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you.
And you're at school and you're in lockdown, and you've still made time for
Yeah, we're still here. Lockdown, people. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy your next
session. Take care. Bye-bye.